Hey guys, it's BT, and it's been a while since I did a video like this, because if I'm being completely honest, there's literally nothing to talk about right now. Like, it is a very boring time for talking about gaming right now, because all you have to talk about is how badly The Last of Us 2 failed, or about what you think could happen with the Xbox Series X or Halo Infinite, I don't know. Or if you're talking about the big virus out there, you'd have to talk about how people aren't wearing their masks. And I just don't want to delve into more Karen videos. I've already done 2 of them at this point. It's too much for me, man. But one thing I am pretty hyped for this year is the release of Cyberpunk 2077 later this year. I mean, I'm a big fan of The Witcher, and overall, CD Projekt Red has been doing a great job with their games so far, and I'm sure they'll pull it off with Cyberpunk 2077 again. However, there's some people out there who believe this game will fail, which, I mean, is completely understandable. There's always those feelings of worry whenever a game's about to come out. However, there's some people who believe that the game will fail for some really asinine reason, such as the big-brained individual who we are going to look at today. Now, you may be wondering who this individual is. Well, it is a YouTube channel named Harman Smith. If you're familiar with him, you know that he's probably the most blind Nintendo fanboy ever of all time. Other bigger YouTubers have made videos on him, like Griffin Gaming and Mr. Weenie. I'll link their videos in the description. But anyway, let's see this guy's message about Cyberpunk 2077 and what he thinks is gonna happen. Hopefully Nintendo's #1 dick sucker will have something wonderful to say about Cyberpunk 2077, right? Yeah, no.
Is anyone still pretending to be excited for Cyberpunk 2077?
I mean, you could say that the entire fucking internet's excited for it, because all of us are, really.
I've been saying this for years, literally since The Witcher 3 came out and CD Projekt Red started talking about this. But I do not like the weird obsession that people have with this game.
Look, dude, if you don't like the obsession that people have with this game, you don't have to look it up on the internet. You don't have to fill up your search history with that. Like, this is like going to a Mexican restaurant and complaining that they're serving Mexican food there. If you search up Cyberpunk 2077, you are going to find people who love the game.
With this game, like, oh, I'm upgrading my PC for this. Oh, this is going to be a game changer. This is going to be one of the best games ever made.
Okay, so I don't know about best game ever made. For me, that'll always go to Titanfall 2. But yeah, people are definitely gonna have to upgrade their PCs for this shit. Like, look at the graphics on it. It's amazing. And then at the end of the clip I just showed, he sort of just stutters for a bit. Like, he just stops talking. Does he not know how to use editing software? Like, does he just sit down in front of his phone and go like, alright, we're gonna record this impromptu?
All this from a bunch of plebs who don't seem to have played anything other than The Witcher 3 in the past 5 years.
Okay, so basically, because someone likes a game you don't like, they're apparently plebs. And gee, I imagine why people like The Witcher 3 so much. Hold on, Phil, can you show the screenshot? But critical acclaim from critics and users themselves aside, moving on.
It's been dying down a lot over the past couple of years, especially since they actually started showing off gameplay and it just looks like Deus Ex Human Revolution.
Okay, Cyberpunk looks nothing like Deus Ex. The only thing they have in common is that they're Cyberpunk games. Also, interest in this game is still pretty high. In fact, it's one of the most anticipated games of 2020, like alongside Halo Infinite and all of that other jazz.
Like, there's nothing new or interesting here.
Yeah, nothing new or interesting except a brilliant looking game by CD Projekt Red.
They stripped away all the features. Everyone's bringing this up.
Yeah, they took out fast travel, vehicle customization, third-person cutscenes, wall running, all of that because it was simply unstable in the game engine and they couldn't fix it. So they did the right thing in my opinion. However, just because they removed these features does not mean it will kill the game. It will not do anything to it.
Sure, there are a few like no-name cucks like Mr. Medicare who are still like adamantly defending it. No-name cucks.
The contradiction here is actually fucking hilarious. Like, the man says no-name cucks and then a second later literally names one of those so-called cucks who's defending the game. Speaking of which, no idea who Mr. Medicare is. Maybe I'll check him out later. But anyway, moving on.
But it does feel like it's going to be a really disappointing, lackluster release, even though we live in a world with The Last of Us Part 2, and people are going to praise it just for not being as bad as The Last of Us Part 2.
Okay, so apparently now we're comparing Cyberpunk to The Last of Us. Is that the reviewing standard for 2020 now? Is that how we're gonna say it? Really? Like, how can you compare the two games? The Last of Us 2 is literally hated by the entire player base, whereas Cyberpunk is so far loved by every reviewer who played it, including SkillUp, who I consider a really valuable source.
That's the reality of non-Nintendo gaming right now.
Yup, it wouldn't be a Harman Smith video without this man shilling for Nintendo. Like, by the way, I have no problem with you if you play on Nintendo. I personally consider the Switch to be a decent console, but still, this guy takes it to the extreme, and no one should emulate this guy for anything.
Like, games are being praised for not being as shit as other games. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, there's sometimes a reason for that, like Anthem versus Destiny 2 Forsaken, which I know Forsaken was a while ago, but anyway, here we go. The reason so many people compared Anthem to Borderlands and Destiny is because it came out in the same exact game genre as those two games. So of course they're going to compare the two. And after a lengthy analysis, or perhaps even a short analysis, people will find that Anthem sucks compared to those two. But basically my point is, like, of course there's going to be comparisons between games. Those are inevitable.
Like, oh, this isn't as bad as Destiny.
I'm a big fan of Destiny, but I feel like if I responded to that, it would just be too petty. Also, like any good YouTuber, I don't want to deviate from the main point of my video, like our buddy Harman has. Going from talking about why Cyberpunk will fail to why Switch is so great. Like, motherfucker, stick to one topic at a time, please.
Oh, this isn't as bad as...
Yeah, this isn't as bad as your speech rehearsing abilities. Just thought I'd finish that sentence for you since I'm your best bro, you know?
As Mankind Divided or Evolve or Knack, like that's the standard we're going with right now. Like,
allow me to point out to you, Mr. Smith, that all of these are different types of games. They are all in different genres. They are not all in the same genre. Video games do not fall under the same genre. It's like comparing Halo Wars 2 to Destiny 2, or I don't know, XCOM to The Witcher. Just the comparison can't be made. And let me ask what everyone else is thinking, like, how the hell does this relate back to Cyberpunk? I thought you were talking about why that game was going to be disappointing, not about how great Nintendo is or how game reviews are complete dog shit.
Gamers really need to develop some credentials.
Yeah, we don't need to just develop credentials. We need to develop credentials. Also, Harman, where the hell are your credentials? Who the hell are you to judge?
Really need to become better.
Okay, so what do you mean by become better? And how the fuck does this connect to why Cyberpunk 2077 is going to apparently fail? Like, as this video progresses, I'm starting to see less and less of a connection between the two things. Like, how is Cyberpunk going to fail? Because gamers need to get better.
They really need to stop consuming products just for the sake of consuming products, because I think that's all that is. That's all this is at its core, is that it's a bunch of people just getting hyped for the next major product to consume.
Well, yeah, but isn't this major product also made by CD Projekt Red, who managed to make The Witcher 3 and actually, all of its games in general a success? Like, are you just salty that Cyberpunk 2077 isn't on your wife's boyfriend's Switch? Because overall, the main message I'm getting from your video is, if it's not Nintendo, it's bad. That's literally the only message I'm getting from here.
Like, it's not about the playing a good game.
Actually, that's the exact reason why we're buying Cyberpunk 2077. Don't know what you're on about.
Or enjoying themselves. Otherwise, they would just move on to Nintendo hardware.
Well, last I checked, most of the enjoyable games on Switch were either reprises of older games that were on older Nintendo consoles, or they were games which were previously on PC, Xbox One, and PS4, and then got moved to Nintendo Switch because, well, people wanted to play it on Nintendo Switch. So I don't really see your point here. And you're saying that at that rate, like, people would use Nintendo hardware if they didn't want to play Cyberpunk 2077? I don't understand that logic at all. At that rate, you may as well just play a different game on your console or PC or whatever. But then again, this is the same brainlet who said that apparently PC gaming had less games than Nintendo Switch and was completely dead because of Nintendo Switch. So I'm not really expecting much anymore.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no real justify. Like Astral Chain, right? Like, it's a cyberpunkish game. It has unique mechanics. It's reasonably fun to play. Like, sure, it has problems, but where's the hype for that one?
The hype for Astral Chain is dead because it came out a year ago. Stop living in 2018. Literally, 2018 was probably when it was announced and probably when hype was greatest at that rate. So do not dare to compare the two.
Like, oh no, because it wasn't a major PC. It wasn't a major AAA third-party release on all major platforms.
I feel like I'm beating a dead horse at this point. This game is not famous because it's a AAA game on all platforms except Switch. It's famous because it's by CD Projekt Red, the guys behind the Witcher franchise.
Like, it's impossible to take these people seriously.
Are you sure you're not talking about yourself, buddy? Because literally the entire internet and YouTube are finding it hard to take you seriously, too. Hey, Phil, show the screenshot for a moment.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
It really, really is. And I'm curious, how much longer can this go on? Like,
I mean, it goes on up until, like, Cyberpunk is released, I guess.
Like, we literally had to wait, like 8 years for this to come out? They've been talking about it, like, since, 2012?
And because it's been in development for 8 years, people are excited because they know that they've probably spent a lot of time working on the game, and thus they believe that it's probably going to be really good.
It might not be successful. Like, without Geralt, without the Witcher brand, it might just fall flat on its face.
Two different universes, buddy. Two different universes. And I mean, I can see people worrying about this game failing. There's always that fear in these days, especially since not a lot of games are amazing. But like, the idea of it failing because it doesn't have Geralt of Rivia it's just so stupid. Like, a game by CD Projekt Red does not need to have Geralt in it, okay? Or rather, it doesn't need Geralt to succeed, especially when it's in a whole different universe.
It looks very generic, actually. Like, in a world with Deus Ex, it may not do very well.
Yeah, it may not do very well despite a huge backing from literally everyone who supported The Witcher, and a lot of other people as well. And also critical acclaim so far from reviewers as unreliable as IGN, and then people as reliable as ScaleUp. And also Deus Ex, I think, ended a while back, so Really, there's no other Cyberpunk related game for it to compete with. The only game that could really give it competition, probably, my best guess, probably wrong, is Halo Infinite. That may be the only game to give it competition at the moment. Now, of course, I'm not saying like, oh my god, Cyberpunk's gonna be Game of the Year. It could, but at the moment there are other contenders for that too, like Doom Eternal, Crossing New Horizons, Final Fantasy VII. There are always other games like that, but I mean, it will be cool if Cyberpunk manages to do that.
I think it has like GTA style features.
I mean, that's probably true, given that Cyberpunk is somewhat of a crime game and open world, but I mean, there are examples of games taking features from other games and everywhere in the gaming industry. How about we name some for your Nintendo loving ass? Metroid took the idea of being a first-person shooter from Doom and Halo. Super Smash Bros. Took the idea of being a fighting game from Mortal Kombat. And by the way, I don't hate Metroid or Super Smash Bros. Or Nintendo. Like, Nintendo made some pretty good games, but just this man's argument is kind of pointless.
But then if that's true, if it plays like GTA, then it's just gonna, have to compete with GTA.
Well, of course it'll have to compete with GTA, but how does this make this a disappointing game? That's like saying that Halo is disappointing because it has to compete with Call of Duty, or that Doom is disappointing because it has to compete with Halo. It just doesn't make any sense.
Again, it keeps getting delayed. It keeps having all these issues.
Well, guess why they're actually delaying it? It's because they want to fix those issues, which could happen, unlike other publishers in our day, like, say, Activision or EA, who just push out a half-baked game with issues and bugs at launch. They're trying to make sure that doesn't happen.
I don't see the game doing well, or especially being good. I suppose that's the primary point I want to emphasize. Is that,
well, then you could have just said that shit instead.
like, I don't see the game being good, which is more important than it doing well. People need to stop hyping this shit up.
And that is where the video ends. Jesus Christ. Think I lost brain cells listening to that. But anyway, because of this video and your channel in general, Harman, I am going to give you the title of Nintendard. But anyway, guys, thank you for showing up to the video and taking the time out of your day to watch it. It is a long video, I know, but it means the world to me that you decide to show up and check this out. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps out. Thank you.